Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. Welcome to Kickoff Part 1. By the way, with the highest score ever, I'll just leave it for another couple of seconds because I think people are still joining. This is on the poll where actually 88% of people received that high for yes, by the way, just in case you're wondering. So thanks for that. Much appreciated. I'll explain why that's really important as we go through today. So to the 13% that are no, I'll give you a shout why you need to create one. Okay. If you haven't been on one of these before, thanks for joining. If you have, thanks for joining also. But there's a couple of things just to be aware of. You'll see on your control bar, your Zoom control bar, there is a Q&A button. There's a chat button, lots of buttons actually, but those two are probably most important. In fact, I'll give you, just to show you now, I'll post, you should see something pop up on your Q&A bar. There should be kind of red one on it. That's really important. So there's a kind of peculiar thing with Zoom on some clients that connect to it. Some people can copy from chat, some people can't. So what we do is we replicate everything over on the Q&A question. So all the links that Violetta will post today, and anybody, Alex who's presenting, we'll also copy them over to Q&A. So if you want to copy something, yeah, probably best try. You can try it from chat, but if it doesn't work, it's over in Q&A as well. You can contact us by this email, activate. You'll get a copy of the PDF and a recording of this tomorrow on the email that you registered with, so that'll come through automatically. We'll upload these. We run this session every week, right? So we would normally post on YouTube, but there's no point posting the same thing every week on YouTube. So we use a kind of a tool called Oracle Video Hub. Kind of works the same way, right? You can play your video from there. We also run, Violetta and myself run a thing called Developer Coaching. That's every Wednesday. So if you want to register for some of them as well, there's always a tech demo. It was a really, really good session yesterday, by the way. If you're interested in that, you'll see that they do go on YouTube, by the way. If you want to have a look, there's a link in the PDF that you get. We share it live actually in this session, so you can, and loads of other places, but you can pick up and get all these links. So you don't need to kind of go writing anything down. Okay, so just before we start, because just to explain what this session is going to cover, you will need your tenancy login. I'll end that. We're actually 80-20, which is still super high. So thanks for the poll results. So 80% yes, 20% no. Appreciate that, by the way. You should have your tenancy login. You will need like an Oracle account as well. We'll talk about that as to why in the next couple of slides. There is official Oracle training called Oracle Learning Paths. This doesn't replace that. So just so you know, if you want to use official Oracle training, please go over to MyLearn. I think it's mylearn.oracle.com. Go have a look at that. You can register. There's loads of stuff available over there. What we're trying to show you is just practical steps if you're starting of how do you get a VM going, for instance, and networks and stuff. So it's just really kind of get you off the ground. That's the purpose of this kickoff. There's currently five of them. We ran part 2, which is creating a database, part 3, which is basic security that you need to enable, part 4, which is an AI one, and part 5, which is a pretty tough session, by the way. We're only going to run that about once every 6 weeks or so. That's to do with serverless, right? And the security related to that. So they're all practical steps. You'll see live demos today. There is one small change. I'll talk about that in a second. So who is this kind of targeted at? So we're kind of looking at account admins, tech leaders. You've been tasked with setting up OCI, something like that. So hence everything we have today, there's step by step. We run through those steps with you. There's kind of a number of ways you can do this. Some people like to do it along while we're presenting. I would encourage you to try and do that if you can, because we have people on this call that'll answer questions live for you. Okay. The second way, some people just want to see it run through once and then try it themselves. If that's the way you prefer to learn, absolutely, totally do that. And the third way is if you just want to say, hold on, I can do this on my own. Feel free to do that either, right? We share all of those links to this labs with all of the steps included in it. So a couple of things. We have a public Slack environment. why that's important, particularly if you're starting off, is if you've got any questions that you want to ask next week, next month, you can post them over there. And actually, the people on this call will probably be the people who respond, right? So if it's really good if you get bogged down anywhere with some of the labs when you're doing them on your own. Okay, so what Violetta will share with you now in chat and on Q&A is how you connect to that Slack environment. Now, some of you might not be allowed to use Slack, in which case good old-fashioned email works. But if you can do that, it's much more interactive and faster, right? But so have a think about that. By the way, there's a lot of other channels over there you might be interested as well. It's not just this one. Okay, so, and thanks, Violetta, for sharing that. So we've 3 people doing all the real work today. Alex will be presenting, Radu and Lucia will be answering any questions that you come up with. If you could post on Q&A the question, that would greatly help us, because the way chat works in Zoom is it's just a big, long stream of text, right? And it tends to roll off the screen, and the likelihood we'll miss a question is quite high, right? So if you could use Q&A if you've got questions. Now, a couple of caveats on that. Please do not share your email or tenancy names, anything private, because Q&A is public, okay? So just be careful what you show, right? You can use chat if you want to say something private, but if you could keep your questions Q&A, it would help a lot. Okay, the next link is probably one of the most important ones. There is in case you're not aware, there is an environment that Oracle has called Live Labs. There's like 1,000 of them. We're obviously one. All of our labs are there, so if you want to have a look for them, you feel free. And the way these labs work is there's a series of steps, and you can just follow those steps and follow along and build whatever solution that happens to be the lab is talking about. In our case, as you can see here, we're doing, excuse me 1 second. That cough brewing for about 30 seconds. All right, okay. We'll show you how to create a department, why that's important. Virtual cloud networks, keys, VMs. We'll also show you how we share the file live. We also cover costs and cost reduction briefly in this. So we'll show you how you can save on spending a lot of money, right? So hopefully that'll help you. Okay. Right, when you get that, you will need an Oracle login, and not your tenancy login, an Oracle login. So as you can see, I'm logged in here, but you will need one of them. If you haven't got one of them, unfortunately, you're going to have to create it because you won't be able to see these labs otherwise. So click on Start and click on this button here, Run Your Tenancy, and it'll open all of these steps. Now, Alex will go through this today. We tend to split our screen in half. One side is the lab. The second side is our tenants. We're using an internal one that we use for messing around, quite frankly, but you'll see that we use it. Now, remember, your tenancy is going to look different than ours. If this is ours, yours will be different. Now, a couple of things just to explain. Usually we build all of this stuff live. What we're trying to do today is we have been overrunning on this event, I think, for about 9 months, right? So it's normally overrun by 15, sometimes 20 minutes. So we're trying to shave that off so it finishes on time like we said it would. So Alex has pre-built some of them, but we'll go through all of the steps to show you how you do it, okay? It's just that it'll save us a couple of minutes here and there. We'll talk about the time also it takes to build stuff. So also those live labs, we're going through the process of changing them as we speak, because there's been a change to the dashboard Oracle, the dashboard interface. So we're in the process of migrating that. So just see some of the old ones, just remember we're changing it literally latest yesterday. The second thing you need to do is log into your tenancy. It'll look, well, actually, that's the old look, I just realized, but it'll look slightly different than that, but log into your tenancy and have that open. We'll go through all of that. And with that, it's over to the real person who's going to do all the work. Alex, over to you.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm Alexandra, and I will be your presenter for today. So this is the agenda. We will have an Oracle Cloud overview. We'll see how we can set up the identity and access management part. We'll spin up a compute instance and expand the storage for it. And we'll also see how we can analyze and manage the costs of our tenancy. This is the OCI global footprint. So by February, as you can see, we have 171 live or planned regions. And as you can see, we have a bunch of available commercial regions. We have 8 government ones already available. We have 2 EU sovereign cloud available regions, about 20 dedicated ones, and several other types of regions such as Oracle Database at Azure, which for the moment are 9 that are available and about 13 planned, and Oracle Database at Google Cloud, for which we have 4 available at the moment. We'll share this presentation with you later and you can have a look at this map as well. So regarding the OCI architecture, regions serve different geographies and they are connected to each other through a backbone network. Availability domains, also known as data centers, are isolated from each other, so if something happens to one of them, the others will not be affected. And within an availability domain, we have a construct called fault domain, which is a grouping of hardware and infrastructure. An availability domain has 3 fault domains, which let you distribute your instances so that they will not be on the same physical infrastructure. Also, you can replicate your data in multiple regions for high availability and disaster recovery. And regarding disaster recovery, you will find in this slide a cool video created by our colleague Radu, which you can check later when we share the presentation with you. Thank you, Tom. So compartments are logical spaces that you can create inside your tenancy in order to segregate your resources and control the access. The root compartment is the parent compartment, and you can go down to 6 levels of compartments, while horizontally you can have an infinite number of compartments. Every compartment is available in all regions, and the best practice, as you can also see in this slide, is to create a compartment for each type of resource. So we can create one for your networking configuration, one for the storage, one for the compute instances, for example, and so on. Next slide, please. So one very important OCI concept is the identity and access management. This is how users have access to different types of resources in the cloud tenancy. So for example, you can create a user for each member of your team, assign each user to specific user groups, and apply policies or roles to each group. Please bear in mind that initially the user will not have any rights until given some. And as we will see in a couple of minutes, the policies are in English, in human readable language, and it is easy to figure out what they should look like. Next slide, please. Okay, so here you'll find a slide with key concepts and terminologies. You can read about the definitions for regions and availability domains, what a tenancy is, a compartment, and also you can read more about the OCID. So regarding the OCID, most types of OCI resources have this Oracle assigned unique ID called an Oracle Cloud Identifier. It is included as part of the resources information in both the console and the API, and it is very useful for situations when you need to log a support ticket regarding matters that include resources having different issues. So by providing this OCID to the support team, they will be able to identify the resource that has issues much more faster. Thank you, Tom. In here, you have a slide with the OCI complete services. As I previously mentioned, you can have a look later, but as you can see, we have a lot of cool features. We have developer services, applications, data and AI, several types of databases, and other interesting services. Thank you, Tom. Now we will start the demo. I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can see it.
Yep, all good.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so on the right side of my screen is the Live Labs page we are going to go through together today. And here on the left side is the OCI console. So before starting the labs, I would like to show you a bit more about the OCI console. So let's have a short overview. We have here several buttons. Let's start with the profile button. So in here you can see the email address used to sign up for the account. You have the service user console option. You can see your identity domain, the tenancy name, which is actually the cloud account name you set up when creating the account. You can also change the language for the console. So, for example, if I choose to change the language to German, the other users of my tenancy will be seeing the console as default in English. So this language change is done only for the person who processed it. The other users, if any, will see it in English. Of course, you have some users and console settings, and you can even sign out of the account. In here, we have the help button. As you can see, it's comprised in 3 parts. The documentation part is very interesting because it adapts according to the service you enter. So for example, if I go to compute instances and I click on help again, as you can see, it changed to documentation related to compute instances. So we can read more about connecting to a Linux instance, to a Windows one, and several other types of information. If you click on them, there will be an external website opened, and you can read more about this in there. Okay. You can also visit the support center. You can post a question on our forums, or if needed, create a support request or request a service limit increase, also from the help button in here. Moving forward, we have here the announcements. So in here, depending on the compartment you choose, you will see if there's any required action, if there's any scheduled maintenance, or if there are any other announcements. You will find them in here. Next, we have here the developer tools, Cloud Shell and Code Editor. For today, we will be using Cloud Shell to generate a pair of SSH keys and then connect to a compute instance with them. And here we have the regions menu. By default, my home region is Frankfurt, but for today I'm going to choose Paris. So please bear in mind that free accounts are not able to subscribe to additional regions, and paid accounts can subscribe to up to 3 additional regions by clicking here on Manage Regions. You will find a list with all the regions, and you'll have the option to subscribe to the regions you need. Okay, so this is about all regarding the console overview. Let's start with the labs. I'll open lab number 1. So our first task is to create a compartment. For that, I'm going to go here to the navigation menu, select Identity and Security, and I have here compartments. I will then click on Create Compartment. I'll have to set a name for it. Following the lab, I will have to call it Sandbox. Then I will have to set a description, Sandbox compartment for workshops and tests. Choose the parent compartment. Here there are 2 options. If you only have the root compartment, if there's not any other compartment in your tenancy, you can leave it like this. So you have to have the root compartment as the parent compartment. Or if you have other compartments, you can choose one of those. In my case, my parent compartment would be this one containing my name. And then all I would need to do is click on Create Compartment. I'm not going to do it now because I already have a compartment created for today, but I just wanted to show that it's easy and the compartment is created immediately. I'll click on Cancel. So again, if you need to create a compartment, you can go to the menu in here, Identity and Security, and you have here compartments. Are there any questions, Tom, until now?
It's probably a good time. So if anybody's got any questions, Q&A is the place to go. If you want us to go through that again, just let us know. I don't see any, Alex, so if you want to kick on.
Okay, thank you. Then let's move to task number 2, which is to manage user groups and policies to control the access. So one of our first tasks is to create a group. For that, we would need to go again to the navigation menu, select again Identity and Security, but this time choose Domains. Check your compartment and select the default domain in here. And as you can see, we have here several things we can do inside this default domain. So the user and groups creation can be done both ways. So you can create the user first and the group second, or the group and then the user. It doesn't matter. I'm going to start with the group because this is how the order is in the live labs. And I'm going to click on Create Group. I will have to set a name for the group, a description. You can follow the labs, or you can set your own name. If you want to follow the labs, then the group should be called Sandbox Admin, and the description can be whatever description you need, or you can copy it from here. You can choose whether the user has to request access or not. And as I mentioned, because you can create both ways, if you have the user already created, you can check the box next to it. And when the group is created, the user is automatically assigned to that group. And that is all. You just need to click on Create. And as similar to the compartment, it's created immediately. I'm going to click on Cancel. And now let's go and see how we can create a user. It's similar to the group creation. I'll click on Create User. And then here you'll have to set at least a last name for the user, the username or email address. You can choose whether the email address is the username or not. And as I mentioned, it's similar to the group creation. If you have the group already created, you can select the checkbox next to it and the user will be added to that group. And again, all you need to do is click on create and it's created in a few seconds. I'll click on cancel for now because I have them already in my tenancy. So now, assuming we have the group and a user created and assigned to that group, as I mentioned before, the user will not have any rights until he is given some. So if you add the user, he will be able to log into the tenancy, but he will not be able to do anything within it. So for that, we need to grant access to the user. And for that, we can go either in here in identity or navigation menu, identity and security. And this time, select policies. Again, make sure you are in the right compartment. And then all you need to do is click on create policy. You'll have again to set a name for that policy. You can follow the labs if you want. So you can call it policy for sandbox admin, for example. You'll have to type in a description. Choose the compartment you want the policy to be applied on. And then you can select show manual editor and copy the policy from here in here. So it will be allow group sandbox admin to manage all resources in compartment sandbox. If you named your compartment different, then you will need to change the name of the compartment to the one you created. And this also applies to the group. If you called it something else, you will need to change the name. Then all you need to do is click on create and it's created immediately. Also, if you want to create more policies, if you need more than one, you can check this box here, and after you click on create, another window will be opened to create a second or a third policy. So I'll click on cancel. I'm not going to create one now. And that is all for lab number 1. So again, if you want to create groups, users, or policies, you need to go to the navigation menu in here, identity and security. For policies, you can find them in here. And for the users and groups, you need to access domains and select the default domain in here. And you'll have here both users and groups. Are there any questions, Tom?
I'll take this chance to just let anybody, if you want to post a question. So the reason we include this is because it tends to come up quite a lot about how to create users. So it may appear like a lot of work, but it saves you a huge amount of work downstream. Because all you got to do is once you got these policies created, and more importantly, the groups created, you can just add new users. Obviously, you can change it as you go along. If you give too much authority and you want to remove a policy, you can do that, or add new ones, you can do that. So you've got a lot of flexibility with this. So if there's any questions on that, now you as the tenancy owner, you don't need to do any of that because if you're a tenancy owner, well, you own everything, right? So this is just for everyone else that you're doing it. So if you have a development team or something that you wanted to give access to it, this is how you would go about doing it. And as Alex said, just remember, by default, when you create a user and you just create it, all it can do is connect. It can't do anything else. So you have to grant them privileges to do anything. So just keep that in mind. No, I don't see anything, Alex. So we can move on.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Then let's go to lab number 2 and create a virtual cloud network. For this, we'll need to go to the navigation menu again, and this time select networking and virtual cloud networks. You will need to check you are in the right compartment. So if you click here, you'll have a filter and you can select from a drop-down list, you can select your sandbox compartment. And as you can see, there are two options. You can create the VCN from scratch, or for today, you can use the wizard, which is much more faster and does not require a complex configuration. Of course, if you want to do this at your own pace and create the VCN from scratch, please feel free to do it. So let's click on Start VCN Wizard. You would need to select the VCN with internet connectivity and then click on Start VCN Wizard. So as you can see, there's a resource availability checked. It shows you what resources will be created within this VCN. So we'll have a public and a private subnet, an internet gateway, a NAT gateway, and a service gateway. You'll need to set a name for your VCN. If you want to do it according to the labs, it should be Sandbox VCN. You'll need to select the compartment, and the other options remain the same. You do not need to change the IPv4 CIDR block, neither for the VCN nor for the public and private subnet. So you can leave them as default. Then you would need to click on next, sorry, to set a name for it. I'm not going to create it, but I just want to show you what you need to do. And then, as you can see, you can review every detail of the VCN. You can see the security lists, the route tables, and every other detail in here. And then you just need to click on create. And as you can see, as you will see, it creates very fast. I'll click on cancel because I'm not going to create a new VCN. Click on exit. And this is how it looks like after it becomes available. You'll find the IPv4 CIDR block, the default route table, and if you click on it, you'll find here a lot of other information. So you have the main details of the VCN, such as the compartment, the CIDR block, the OCID, which I mentioned is very helpful, especially for cases when you need to create a support request ticket. You have the IP administration window where, if you want, you can add additional configurations. You can see your subnets. You can also check what gateways were created. So we have an internet gateway, a NAT gateway, and a service gateway as mentioned. They are all available. You can see the route tables, the default one and the one for the private subnet, the security lists in here. Also, if you want, you can take action upon them. So you can move them or you can even delete them. But please bear in mind that the default ones cannot be deleted. As you can see, you can only move them or view details, copy OCID, but not terminate them. And tests about the VCN. So again, if you want to create one, you just need to go here, networking, and you'll find virtual cloud networks. And then depending on what you prefer, either create it from scratch or choose to create it with the wizard. I think that's all for this lab. Are there any questions, Tom, regarding this?
I'll give people some time to post on that because this can be a bit of a tricky bit. So just to explain, if you're in a very secure environment where you might have a security group or something very touchy about networks, and obviously they should be, you can obviously just use create VCN and do whatever you need to do manually. We tend, I think in pretty much all these kickoffs, we tend to use the wizard because it just does a lot of the kind of grunt work for you. It saves you having to do all of those things. But obviously, as Alex said, you can modify any of them that just to either add extra or remove authority that was given. So we tend to use the wizard because it's quicker, but obviously it depends on the organization you're in. So pick whichever option is most appropriate to yourself. You can push on, Alex. I'll let you know, Alex, if any questions come up. So just if anybody's wants us to repeat an area, just let us know. I will say one thing actually. Just you probably noticed Alex keep checking on the compartment. So everything she's creating, she's checking that compartment. If you can get into the habit of doing that, it can make this lab makes it look very easy because we've just created that compartment, so it's always defaulting to it, but that's just the most recently used one, right? So if you've created a load of compartments, just make sure that you're putting it where you think you're putting it. So get into the habit of whatever you're creating, just check it's in the compartment you think it's in. Everybody makes that mistake, by the way, but just FYI, if you're tempted not to create compartments, I would strongly recommend don't. I did at the start, and I sorely live to regret it because you just wind up with a big pile of stuff all on your top tenancy, and it becomes really complicated really quickly. So if you can get into the habit of using compartments, it just makes your life a lot easier. Even if you're on a trial, by the way, I would do that. Right, it just makes it just makes everything so much cleaner and easier for you to manage later on, as you'll see when Alex gets the costings and stuff like that at the very end. Okay, Alex, if you want to move on.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'll go now to the third lab and let's generate a pair of SSH keys for which we'll use later for connecting to the compute instance. So as you can see, there are multiple options. You can use Cloud Shell. You can use your local terminal from both macOS or Windows machines. You can even use PuTTY. But for today, we'll use the first option, which is Oracle Cloud Shell. And we'll need to open Cloud Shell. As I mentioned at the beginning, we find it in here at the Developer Tools menu and Cloud Shell. If you never used it, it might take a bit until it opens. And as you can see, it comes with 5 GB of storage, which is more than enough for your keys. Okay, so now let's see what we need to do to generate those keys. The first thing you need to do is make a directory in the live labs.
Sorry, Alex, could I ask a quick favor? You wouldn't mind boosting the font size just a tad?
For the Cloud Shell only?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Better?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Or if anybody needs it bigger, just post and let us know.
So first of all, you would need to make a directory called SSH in our case. As you can see, it says that the file exists because I already have one created. So now I would need to enter this folder, this directory. So I would need to type in cd.ssh. And now I am able to generate my SSH key. I'm not going to generate the pair because I have them already pre-generated, but all you need to do is copy the command from here, paste it in here, and change the name in the brackets with the name you want for your key pair. You have also here an example. If you don't have any other key pair called Cloud Shell key, you can even use this name. It doesn't matter. And then, as you can see in the screenshot, it will give you a message that they were created. And then you would need to examine what was created and type in the command ls. I'm going to also type this command. And as you can see, I have a lot of key pairs generated. The ones I prepared for today are these two ones, SSH key 6th of February, which is the private one, and this one, which is the public key. And then, because later you'll need to use the public key to create the compute instance, you'll need to type in this command cat ssh key.pub, which I can also do on my own. I'll say cat ssh key 6th February.pub. And this is the content of my public key. I will need this to paste it in the configuration of the compute instance. So I will minimize this, the Cloud Shell window for now. Of course, you can copy it somewhere locally if you feel it's more easier, and close Cloud Shell because you are not going to lose anything. I'll choose to minimize it. And that's all for lab number 3. So again, you can find the Cloud Shell in here, developer tools and Cloud Shell. As I mentioned, it comes with 5 GB of storage, and if it's the first time using it, it might take a bit until it loads. But as you've seen in my case, it opened really fast.
Alex, it's probably just worth mentioning here. We're using Cloud Shell here because we know that everybody who's attending this, you've obviously got OCI, so you've got access to Cloud Shell. But if you're using some other tool to generate keys, we've given a lot of examples above for PC and Mac, and I think Linux is even there if I remember rightly. But you can use whichever of them you want, right? Or whatever tool generation that you happen to be using in the company that you're in. We just happen to be using this here because it's easy. What I would do, by the way, I would familiarize yourself with Cloud Shell anyway, because it's a really super handy tool if you just want to quickly connect to environments and test something. Now, obviously, you have to do what you have to do in the company that you're in, right? So follow whatever rules and regulations your company has got on stuff like this. Alex, I guess the only thing is if you do exit it by accident, it doesn't matter. Just go back up, connect in again.
Nothing.
Sorry, Alex.
So if you close it, as you've seen, I just had to enter my SSH directory again and list the content, and I have everything in here. So you don't lose anything.
Perfect. Cool. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to post. We've got people online if you want us to respond. So I'll let you push on, Alex.
Thank you, Tom. Well, let's now go to lab number 4 and see how we can create a compute instance and connect to it. Let's start with provisioning the instance. We'll need to go here to the navigation menu, and this time select compute instances. As you can see, I have mine already pre-built, but I'm going to show you how you can provision one. So again, very important is to choose the compartment and then click on create instance. So you would have to set a name for your instance. According to the labs, it should be called Sandbox VM, but you can set a name that you prefer. Here you have the option to choose again the compartment. The availability domain, in my case, Paris has only one availability domain, so I don't have the option to change it. We even have here some advanced options, so you can choose between these types of capacity, and you can even choose the full domain if you want. Then if we scroll down, we have the image and the shape option. You can choose to change either of these two. So if I click here on change image, As you can see, I have several types of images I can choose between Oracle Linux instance, Ubuntu, Windows, Rocky Linux, or another image from Marketplace, or I can even choose to bring my own image. I'm going to click on cancel because I will leave it as default. And the same thing goes for the shape. So if I click on change shape, I can choose between a virtual machine or a bare metal one. And I can choose between AMD, Intel, Ampere processors, or even other options. And I can even configure the shapes. So in our case for today, we will be using the VM standard E4 Flex. And if I click on this arrow to expand, I can see that it has one OCPU and 16 gigabytes of memory. You can edit the memory or the OCPU if you need, but for today, I will leave it as default. So I will click again on cancel. And now I can click on next. The security option remains the same for today. You do not need to turn on this option. I'll click on next again. Regarding the networking part, you will need to choose to select the existing virtual cloud network, which is the VCN we created at the beginning. So as you can see, it's the sandbox compartment and the sandbox VCN. Again, for the subnets, select existing subnet. You will need also to check this. It usually is already checked, but if it's not, please check this option to automatically assign the private IPv4 address. And then we get to the SSH keys part. So in here, we will choose to paste the public key. Of course, you can choose to upload the key file if you have it somewhere locally on your computer. You can choose for the system to generate the key pair for you, or you can even choose not to use SSH keys. But for today, we will be pasting the public key. And then you'll need to restore Cloud Shell or open the local folder you have and copy the content from the key. Please make sure you copy everything because otherwise you'll have an error and you won't know why that error occurs. So you need to copy everything starting with SSH RSA until the end in here and paste it in here. Then you'll need to click on next. The storage remains the same. And then again, next. You can review everything you've done until now and click on create. I'm not going to create it because as I mentioned, I have it already up and running. So I'm going to click on cancel. And it is created very fast, similar to the VCN. If you click on it, you'll also have a page with general information about the instance. You will see the VCN, which is being used. Of course, you can also check the networking page, the storage, security, where you can also find the public IP address and the username, and a lot of other options, management, operating system management, monitoring, and so on. You can find them in this page here. Are there any questions, Tom, until this step?
Okay, anyone need us to go through creating a VM again? So a couple of steps. Just make sure you check the compartment you're putting into it. You need to pick the OS that you want. You need to pick the shape that you want, or what you want it to run on. You need to pick the size. We will be adding more storage to this, by the way, just which is the recommended approach, by the way. Just be advised on that. But it normally takes about a minute, right? Sometimes it can be a bit more, but generally the max we've seen on these is kind of 40 seconds, a minute, something like that. So it's pretty quick building it. Once you've got that built, you can connect to it, right? So your environment is up and running. Now, one thing we will be doing at the end of this, by the way, is we will be removing everything, right? So just FYI, if you're on a paid account, today's event will cost like less than $1, right? In fact, it's way less than $1, but just keep that in mind, right? If you want to use a free account, you can. The only thing you can't do on a free account is change the region, right? As Alex mentioned, and on trial, by the way. But just keep that in mind, right? So we will clean down everything at this. We show you all that at the end, right? So just in case anybody's wondering, you're not leaving stuff running. By the way, we will show you that in the costings as well. Some really simple hints and tips on how to reduce your costs, right? Just one. Can you share all those? Tashin, yeah, all of those links, sorry, just a question in chat. All those links are in a Q&A question under my name. Sometimes Zoom doesn't show it, by the way, so just bear with me here. I'll just put here. So hopefully there's a Q&A button. I saw another question just pop in there as well from Siddharth, if I pronounced your name correctly. Siddharth, all those links are in that question raised by me. It's under my name. If you actually click down there, all the links are in. I'll post you a link anyway in the question you just asked in a second. So hopefully that answers. I don't see anything else, Alex. So if you want to move on.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Then let's go to task number 2 and connect to the instance. For this, we'll need Cloud Shell again. Please make sure you enter in your virtual machines. Please make sure you enter this security page because you will need the public IP address, and this is the place you find it. And then you can restore Cloud Shell. Copy the command from here or type it manually as you prefer. And then we need to replace the public IP address and the private SSH key, sorry. So in my case, the private SSH key is SSH key 6th of February. OPC at, now we'll need to copy the public IP address from here and paste it in here. And then hit enter. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? I will type in yes. And as you can see, OPC, which is the default username at Sandbox VM, means I am inside my Sandbox VM instance. So again, just replace the private key name and the public IP address of your instance. Hit yes if it's asking you if you want to continue connecting, and you will be inside your VM in a couple of seconds. And that is all for lab number 4. I'm going to minimize this. So one more time, if you want to create a compute instance, you'll need to go here to the navigation menu, compute, and instances. Check the compartment and click on create instance and provide the details as per the instruction in the lab. Now let's move to lab number 5 and see how we can create a block volume and attach it to the instance. So for task number 1, we need to create the block volume. We'll need to go again to the navigation menu, but this time we'll select storage, and we find here block volumes. Again, I have it pre-built, but let's see what we need to do to create one. I'll click on create. You'll have to set a name for this block volume. Choose the compartment in which you want it to be created. The availability domain, please make sure that you place it on the same availability domain as your compute instance. In my case, as you can see, I don't have any option to change it, sorry, because Paris has only one. But if you place it on another availability domain, so if it's different than the one used for the compute instance, you'll not be able to attach the block volume to the instance, which will be done in task number 2. So it will not work. Please make sure it's the same availability domain. Regarding the volume size and performance, we'll choose custom for today and select 50 gigabytes because it's more than enough. The backup policy will need to be gold, which includes daily incremental backups at midnight and 7 days retention. And then you just need to click on create block volume. It will not take more than a few seconds until it's up and running. I will click on cancel because I have mine already here. And now for task number 2, we'll need to attach this block volume to the instance. So I will click on my block volume in here. And if I scroll down, I have here under resources, attached instances. And I will need to click on attach to instance. So now, according to the instructions, the attachment type needs to be iSCSI. Access type will leave it as read and write. The instance will need to select our sandbox VM. And the device path will be Oracle VDB, the first one in the list. And now we need to click on attach. Close this window. As you can see, it's attaching. So while this is in progress, let's see again where we can access the block volume. So one more time, we need to go to the navigation menu, storage this time, and block volumes. And then, as I showed you, click on create block volume, check the compartment, and provide the information required in the window. Let's see if it was attached. Yes, as you can see, it's green, meaning that it was attached to our instance. Now, as you can see in the instruction, we'll need to click on the 3 buttons here and choose iSCSI commands and information. And we will need to copy the attached commands from here. You have here a button that copies all the command lines. Close this window. Now we'll need to restore Cloud Shell and paste them in here. As you can see, everything was successful. Now we'll need to format and mount the disk. So we'll need to run all of these commands. You can copy them one by one from the Live Lab page and paste them in here. So we'll copy these 2 commands to format the disk. As you can see, it is working. And then we'll need to make a directory where the disk will be mounted and actually run the command to mount the disk. So let's do that. Copy this command to create the directory. Copy this one to mount the disk. And copy this last command to see what we did. As you can see, it was mounted. So this last comment, this last line shows that the disk was successfully mounted. And this was all about lab number 5. Are there questions, Tom?
Sorry, I was just responding to a question there. Anybody got any questions about attaching? By the way, this is a recommended way that you should do it. You might be tempted to create just the base block volume and create a big one. It's not really recommended. Now, obviously, you can do what you want, but you may, in some cases, if you're using third-party tools, you might have to do that. But we would recommend, and I think it's pretty much Linux recommendation, by the way, that you create extra storage. It's up to 32 terabytes you can add, so you know, need more than that. You've got a lot of data, first thing I would say. But so the main thing to remember here is when you create your block volume, you've got to go in and attach it, right? So to be honest, the reason we show this part really live is probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, I think, but it's not even that bad. But if you want a tip, I would go through this lab 3 or 4 times and just get into the habit of where you find it, running the commands and showing that it's available, and you'll fly through it after that. At least that's what I did, and it certainly worked for me. So give it a go and see what you think. Again, we're on Slack. If anybody gets bogged down anywhere on this, if you're trying it on your own, you can post a question over there, or you can email us either. Just as I mentioned at the start, you will get a link to this recording, and the PDF is in that link as well. You can download it. Everything is, all the links are in there. Okay, I don't see any more. I'm just responding to one now, so but it's kind of unrelated to this, Alex. It's just people looking for links. If you want to push on, unless anybody's got any questions or wants us to go back through some of this, just let us know. I'll give you a couple of seconds to post. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1-ish. 1. No, okay. Back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Tom. Let's then go to the 6th lab and see how we can create an object storage. So the first task is to create the object storage bucket. So for that, we'll need to go again here to the navigation menu, select storage, but this time under object storage and archive storage, select buckets. I have my bucket pre-built, but let's see what we need to fill in. So I'll click on create bucket. You can set a name for the bucket or leave it as default. It doesn't make a difference other than helping you identify your bucket. The default storage tier remains standard, and you don't have to change other options. You just need to click on create. It's created instantly. And now we'll need to upload an object on the bucket. So if you scroll down, you have here objects under resources, and you'll need to click on upload. You can either choose to set a name for it or not, select the storage tier, and you can upload your files from your local computer. After the file is uploaded, you can close this window, and you'll have to create a pre-authenticated request. As you can see, my file is the PDF of today's presentation. For the pre-authenticated request, you'll need to click on the 3 buttons in here and select Create Pre-Authenticated Request. Set a name if you want for the pre-authenticated request. Choose the type, the target, as object. The access type can be either just read, access, write, or read and write. And you can even change the expiration date for this link. So for example, I can even choose the 15th of June at 10 a.m. And this link can be accessible until the 15th of June. I will then click on Create Pre-Authenticated Request. Please make sure you copy this link, because if you close the window, you will not be able to access it, so you'll have to go through all the steps again. So please make sure you click on the copy button here and then close. I'm going to share this with you on chat. And I will also test it. As you can see, it's the PDF from today's presentation, which you can also download if you want to check it before we send you the email. Okay, I will close this. And this is all about the object storage bucket. So again, if you want to create one, you need to go to the navigation menu, storage, but this time you'll find the buckets in here. And again, click on create bucket, set the name for it, hit create, and then you'll need to scroll down after the bucket is created and upload an object onto it, and click on the three buttons here, create pre-authenticated request. You can leave them as default, or you can change the settings and then copy the link I just showed you a few minutes ago. So this is...
Alex, sorry, I'll just interrupt you there. So if anybody needs to share the PDF now, you can do it by that link. By the way, just click on that and there's a PDF save. I think it's top right, if I remember rightly. Like, I'm pretty sure it's top right. Bear with me here. I'll just go in and have a look. Well, it used to be top right. I'm on different browsers. So usually you can kind of save it there. I presume if you're on thing, you probably save it. So let us know if anybody has problems. We share this anyway. We share it over in Slack. We share it. You'll get it by email tomorrow as well. It'll be on the link with the recording. There's a tab for attachments. You'll see the PDF attached there as well. But finally, I'd just say we're just showing this for sharing PDFs. You can use it if you've got data coming in from somebody else, JSON files, any of that kind of stuff. You can use buckets for that kind of stuff, right? So you can be very restrictive on the IP addresses, for instance, who's got right to read, who's got the right to write. That sounds a bit funny, but there you go. You know, obviously we're showing a really basic example of what it can be used for here. You can use it for tons of other stuff. In fact, if you're interested on the developer coaching, we've lots of people doing exactly that in demos that they've built. So feel free to have a look over there. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Tom. So now we'll go to lab number 7, which is the cost management part. I'm going to expand this because I'm not going to need the Live Labs page anymore. So I'm now going to show you how you can analyze and manage the costs for your tenancy. For that, we'll need to go to the navigation menu, of course, and this time we'll choose billing and cost management. As you can see, we have here several types of options. One of the options is the cost analysis tool. As you can see, I have an error because I need to move back to my home region. So this tool helps you see what money was spent basically inside your tenancy. So you have, as you can see, several types of filters. You can choose to have a report by service, by compartment, monthly cost, or other types of reports you can choose from this filter. You can even filter by start date and end date. So as you can see, by default, it's set for 5 days only. The granularity between daily and monthly. And you can also choose what you want to see. If you want to see the cost, the usage, or one of these two options, the attributed cost or attributed usage. You can also choose whether you want to see a forecast or not. And of course, you can also add other types of filters, such as compartment, for example, and select one of your compartments. You can, if you have tags added to your resources, you can filter by tags, you can filter by region, by service, anything, any filter you need, you can add it from here. You can also choose the grouping dimension by compartment, region, resource, or OCID, or other types of grouping dimensions. And then once you set all these filters and click on apply, you can see the cost details. So this is basically a diagram, a chart with the cost, in my case, from February the 1st to up to today. You have a legend of all the services and how much they cost. And also you have here a table with more details about the costs. So this tool is very useful, especially for tenancies with multiple users, because you can monitor very closely how much money was spent during a certain period of time. Another cool tool is the budgets. So the budgets basically are soft limits that you can create inside your tenancy to control the spendings. So let's see what this implies. I'll click on create budget. So you'll have to set a name for the budget, a description. You can choose the budget scope between compartment, a tag, as I mentioned, if you have tags applied to your resources, or the child tenancy. In my case, because it's on compartment, I would need to select the compartment. You can choose the schedule between monthly and custom, which you can filter similar to the previous tool. You can choose the day of the month to begin the budget processing with. So you can choose even the 15th, for example, if you want. The budget alert rule is optional, but is helpful to be configured. So you can choose between an actual spend or a forecast spend, and also between a percentage of the budget or the absolute amount. So in my case, sorry, I missed this. So if I would set the budget amount to $100, if I go here and set the percentage to, let's say, 70%, then I would be notified when I spend 70% of these 100 USD. And then I would need to type in if I want my email address and even a message if I think it's helpful. And once I click on create, when I reach this 70%, I would receive an email saying, hi, we are contacting you to announce that you reached the 70% of the $100. Please delete unused resources, or any other message you want. You can compose it here if you want. I'm not going to create it, so I'll click on cancel. And the last tool I wanted to show you regarding costs is an external tool. It's called Cloud Cost Estimator tool. So these two tools from the OCI console are to monitor your already existing spendings, but the Cost Estimator tool, as the name already said, says estimate your future spendings. So you can configure in here any type of resources you want and see how much they would cost you. So let's say, for example, we want to see how much the things we did today would cost us. So I will load a virtual machine. The processor was AMD. Shape E4 Flex. I had one OCPU, but I had 16 gigabytes of memory. The image remained the same. Regarding the block volume, we had 50 gigabytes, and free tier accounts come with 200 gigabytes for free. So you can, if you are within these 200 gigabytes, you can select this checkbox here. So you will not be paying anything for the block volume. And you can also edit the utilization. So this cost would be per month. But if I click on edit, I can choose, of course, the number of instances. Mine remains 1. And I will choose, let's say, 1 hour per day, 1 day per month. And click on save. As you can see, the cost dropped to 4 cents. So it's what we did today, as Tom mentioned, is less than $1. You can also choose a different name for this. You can set a name according to your future projects, and then you can export it if you need to send it over to the finance department or the team that needs to approve your project. You can just export it. It will be a CSV file, and you can send it over to whom you need. Of course, you can do it the other way around as well. If you have a CSV file, you can import it, and you will see the estimation for your project or configuration. So it's very useful if you want to see how much your project would cost you. Are there any questions, Tom?
Okay, so on the costing, Alex is going to show you now just a couple of really simple things to do on how to reduce your costs. So as you can see here, this is looking forward. What would I spend? What Alex showed you last in the console was what did I spend, right? So you can kind of correlate the two. CSV files are available because I'm sure people are going to be looking for it, right, in budget systems. So that's all available here. You can export and import. I think it might need to be in the same format, but you need to probably check that on your import stuff. But the point being is it's really cheap. Alex, I don't see any questions. It's probably, if you could just show start and stop and terminate, I think we'd be probably good to go. Now, what Alex is going to do is drop everything that she created today, show you how to go through that. If anybody's got any questions about anything we built, now's the time to ask, because we're going to whack everything and get rid of it. So if you've got any questions about anything we've done, it would be best to ask now. Okay, I don't see anything. Okay, Alex, if you want to just go through the final steps.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Okay, so let's start cleaning up our environment. My recommendation is to start from the bottom. So we finished with the object storage bucket. I'm going to start the cleanup with it. So again, navigation menu, storage, buckets. I need to go to Paris because I can't see my bucket. Okay, so this is the bucket. All you need to do is delete it from here. I'm not going to delete it now because maybe you still want to download the PDF. So I will handle this later. This would be the first resource that needs to be terminated. And then we'll need to go again to storage and block volume because this was the previous resource we provisioned. For the block volume, we first need to detach it from the instance. So we'll need to click on the three buttons here and select detach. Then click on continue detachment. Detach, and it's detaching. Once it's detached, the terminate button will be available. As you can see now, it's not available because it's still attached. Once it's detached, you'll be able to terminate it. Okay, so assuming we deleted the block volume, let's now go to our compute instance. And it's not working for some reason. Again, compute instances. Okay. Okay, now it's working. I'll click on it. And you have here some options. You can terminate it, but if you want to use it in the near future, you can just stop it. So this would mean that you will be paying only for the storage for it. Of course, if you think you do not need it, you can just terminate it. And then the last thing is to delete the VCN. So for that, you need to go networking and virtual cloud networks. You can either enter it by clicking here, or on the three buttons here, you have the option to delete it. You'll need, if you know that you use this VCN only in your sandbox compartment, then you can choose specific compartments and select sandbox. But if you are not sure, you will need to have the system scan all the compartments in your tenancy. Then I would click on scan. It will not work for me because I still have my compute instance available and other resources. But after it scans everything, you just need to click on delete and it will delete everything. I'm going to click on cancel, and that's all about the cleanup process. Tom, if there are no questions, I will hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, that's pretty much it. We're right on time. If you can give me just a couple of seconds, I'll wind up. There's a couple of things we just want to share, and we do need your opinion on a couple of things, actually. So I'm going to launch a poll. If you could answer that, I'll explain what's going on there. So we're trying to build these kickoff events around what people are really looking for, rather than us kind of guessing, right? So, so if you can answer that about what you're looking for, we'll add that obviously to the pile of data that we've got. That's where, for instance, part 4 on AI, for instance, came exactly from this, right? So people were saying, how do you spin up AI? How to get it working? So it's based entirely around. In fact, to be honest, all of them were. But part 4 is the most recent. We just had the first event in January that we ran on AI, right? So it'll, I think it's again this month, actually, if I remember rightly. So there, just let us know exactly what you're. I'll leave that run. You can pick multiple options on that, by the way. Okay, I'll fly along this and hopefully give you a couple of minutes back. As I mentioned, we're running a thing called developer coaching by Letter myself. Well, actually, we have a lot of people coming in who are presenting, but you get the idea, right? So there's a load of stuff on PL SQL. We saw the demo of that yesterday, just to make sure everything's okay. There's more on serverless and Gen AI, the AI part of Oracle, right? So if you want to join any of them, registered or free, there's always a demo, right? They're recorded. They're all on YouTube. Have a look at some of the old ones if you want. There's loads of links available on that. Please familiarize yourself with my Oracle support. There was a couple of changes made actually big changes made in November. So please, by the way, we will have a video coming out on this pretty soon. We'll share it over on Slack if anybody's interested, and we'll start adding it to this because there's been a couple of questions recently on support. Whoops, I'm going too fast. So if there's a lot, if you're want to familiarize yourself with those changes in support, you should have probably received recordings from the support group on that. I would have a look at that, by the way. It's not just visual. There's a lot of changes made there. If you're floating around any of these wonderful parts of the world, feel free to register for CloudWorld. I think obviously I don't think the next one is March 12-25 in Madrid. So if you're floating around Madrid and you want to go, please register. Finally, security. There's a couple of things we've got on security now just before you go. So this is from the EMEA security team. It's a thing called a health check. It's free to use. It's on GitHub. If you've got no security in place, I would strongly recommend that you have a look at this. They're a pretty serious bunch, by the way. So all security people are, but particularly that group, in a good way, right? So there's a video about how to run it as well. If you want to have a look. Again, you'll get a copy of this. I saw a couple of questions, people looking for links. They're all in the PDF. You'll get that tomorrow. Part 3 we cover CloudGuard actually, but if you want to have a look at it now, and I would suggest you do, it's a really, really, really good tool. It's free to use. There's a lot of really good hints and tips in it. It makes suggestions and recommendations, all that kind of AI recommendations on it, but it doesn't always mean it's right, by the way, but definitely have a look at that. If you want one favor, if I could ask, and please do this today, if you can, there's a 5-minute video on multi-factor authentication, or if you're old like me, 2-factor authentication, but there you go. If you want to, I would strongly recommend that you turn that on. It'll take you like 5 minutes to do it. So please enable that as soon as you can. Don't put it off because pain is not pleasant, right? There's a ton of useful resources. I won't bore you to death with these. We are doing some of these bite-sized videos. That's a link probably worth, if you're starting off, worth having a look. They're kind of 5-minute videos to try and we're trying to keep stuff easier to consume. And with that, thanks for the poll, by the way, just in case anybody's curious. That's neck and neck actually, neck and neck with 23. We covered that in part 2, by the way. We had it the other day, but we run that once per month. So if you want to join that, we create an autonomous database and run queries against it. Do the networking. There's more networking in that. If you want to join that, feel free. The Gen AI people, part 4 is your friend. It'll be on again this month. Application development, I think we probably need to do more on that, but we'll talk about it. Security is part 3, so have a look if you're interested in that. There's a ton of stuff on Live Labs on all of these, by the way. So Live Labs is a really, really good tool to just have a look around. Okay, with that, I'll give you no minutes back. In fact, I've just taken a minute. So I was hoping that we would finish early. We haven't, but thank you all for your attention and time. If you've got no more questions, and I don't really see any, thanks, Kenneth, for the feedback. Much appreciated. I'll let you all have a great day. Look after yourselves and talk to you all soon. Hopefully see you on the next one. Look after yourselves.